to Integrated EDU,
where innovation meets education.
Here we explore fresh strategies,
creative learning pathways,
and powerful tools to boost student engagement and growth.
Let's elevate education,
one idea at a time. Hey, welcome educator friends to our next episode on Integrated EDU.
Well, we just wanted to pop on. We are excited for our next episode. We're going to be digging into that here in just a little bit, but real quick, how's it going?
How's it going? It's Tuesday. So there's that. We made it.
It's such a loaded question when people ask educators that, like,
how's it going?
I mean, what are you going to give them the true answer, or are you just going to be like,
it's good. It's good. It's going great. It's going great. Or the ones that you like see in the hallway and you're like, just, do I ask or do I, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, it's going really well. We've been, it's October. So we've had our students for a little over a month now. And I feel like we're finally over that like newness of it. We're understanding each other. We're getting into the classroom and we actually are digging into some really good stuff right now, which is our favorite.
Yeah.
Kara and I were just talking right before we started and her student came up to her today and said, what?
Oh, my sweet little thing. This was just so, we had a classroom learning experience today. So, it was kind of a little bit of a hot mess. I had so many adults in and out of the classroom. It's just one of those things where you're just hoping that the kids are getting something because it just didn't quite go as according to plan. But she came up to me and she said, Mrs. Rixby, I just wanted to tell you, thanks for making learning and your lessons so much fun. I really like being in your class. Thanks for making the lesson so fun. So
you're like, good.
Right? It's just a testament, like, gives you that fresh perspective where even as us as, the seasoned veteran teachers, when, a experience doesn't quite go at what you think it might in your head, the kids are still, gravitating towards that learning and loving that learning. So
yeah,
it was great timing. It was something that I definitely needed to hear at the end of the day today.
It's a long day today, but gosh, they're fun. Well, so we've been digging into weather and climate this month, I guess, and we wanted to talk about our experience with one of our big experiences that we do in third grade. And it starts with balloons and the ones that you have the rubber band, and
I think the technical name is punch balloons.
Punch balloons. That makes sense. Okay, now all of it's coming back with our classroom. So tip, we give all of our students a balloon and they have to blow it up. And I have learned through the last 3 years to tell my students, today is not the day to learn how to blow up a balloon. It's not your time to shine. If you don't know how to blow up this balloon and you don't know how to tie this balloon, you're going to need to ask a friend because I'm not going to help you after you try to blow up the balloon. So I had 24 students in each class trying to blow up what they're called punch balloons. Punch balloons.
Yeah. And a little, context behind that is we were on a mission to create globes with our students because our learning, we always try to create, some type of storytelling pathway when we plan. The kids don't really know this, but before you learn about climate and weather, you have to know the different parts of the world, because of the different climates and weather around the world. So we backtracked and talked about continents and oceans, hence us making globes and where the punch balloons come in.
Which we didn't just use balloons to make the globes.
Oh, no.
We took it one step further and we decided to paper mache with 75 third graders in the Commons.
Yep, because our teammate also joined us on this adventure. So
bless her heart, really. That doesn't mean the same thing in the South that it does in Wyoming, but really, like, thank goodness for her because she always goes on our adventures, which is so fabulous.
Yeah. Sometimes enables them. So it's pretty fantastic.
Yeah,
for sure. She definitely balances us out. But so 75 third graders, if you can imagine, it took a whole team of us to get everything prepped the day of. We took up our entire commons area, which is kind of like the cafeteria area. We got, oh, how many trays did we have?
Just like
Like
15
trays.
turkey trays is what I call them, like the ones that you bring over
Uh-huh.
to a friend's
And
house.
we made flour water paste. We had trash bags filled with strips of newspaper that the kids had helped with already. Um, yeah, and the kids had their balloons tied and ready. Well, they tried to tie them and ready to go
It's a
before
learning curve.
they got to us, and it was quite the experience.
It was quite the experience. And so let's talk about that. So you're thinking, I'm sure right now, like, why would you want to do 75 kids at one time paper macheing? Well, because the experience alone, not only is it content driven, it's very purposeful for why we were doing these globes. And, it's kind of almost an assessment piece for us as well. And we'll kind of get into some of the why piece of the purposeful
Mm-hmm.
of the globe. But the experience itself it teaches our students so much. And honestly, it teaches us adults a lot as well.
Mm-hmm.
Because this year, it didn't go as well as it did the very first year that we did it. The first year we did globes, it was phenomenal. Every single kid's paper mache globe came out perfect. They painted it. They were great. They were great. This year, I don't even, I, they're a little less globe. A little more flattened earth. They tried so hard, you guys. They really did. It might have been the paper.
A little less globe.
I don't know how else
Oh
to
my God.
say that. We're gonna attach a picture. You can see.
Yeah, we'll be putting
how
a picture.
unglobed they are.
But like Meg said, it teaches everyone a lot. And in that process, we were literally all sitting there thinking, you just have to trust the process. Even if they don't turn out exactly, Pinterest perfect like you imagine in your brain, there is still really great learning and experiences and knowledge building that happened in that time with that project, whatever it might be that those students are going to walk away with. And there was many times when this was happening, you think in your head like, oh goodness, what did we get ourselves into? But
so we're literally walking around this commons and we have all these kids on the floor paper macheing, and kids are running out of the goop stuff and they need the paper. It's stuck to their shoes. It's stuck to their hand. You have students that are covered from their nose to their toes in paper mache goop. And you're like, it's going to come off in the wash. Just keep going. And the great part about this is we do share with our students before they start a how-to video. We explicitly talk about how to make your paper mache balloon successful, how to do the different things. But what happens is our third graders are not as patient, and maybe they don't think that that is how it's going to work best. And so they kind of do it their own way. And it's a great learning experience for them. They're like, oh, this really isn't working. Maybe I should listen to the instructions. Or, maybe your friend next to you is doing it a little bit different and you want to try that strategy. So you're thinking about the collaboration, the problem solving, you're thinking about sharing the materials. If your friend Johnny has sprayed you with paper mache goop, how are you going to handle this situation? And then for me, I have to walk away. I can't always stay and watch them struggle through the process of trying sometimes, because I know that if they struggle through it a little bit, that the outcome of how proud they're going to be when they're done, that when they're finished, they're like, look, I did this by myself and I completed it. And sometimes I just walk away and then I come back and check on them. There's times that we can intervene as teachers. We need to help. But in this moment, it's easier for me to just kind of, yep, you're doing a great job. Keep going. And then, keep circling around all of the paper mache goop.
And with these experiences, like this one specifically, the students knew the purpose of what we were doing. They understood, hey, we've been talking about this, and they knew that they were creating their own visual representation of their knowledge, that they knew the purpose behind it. They were excited about the purpose behind it. I literally had one of my kids go, oh, the paper mache. This is like what I saw the kids doing last year. Like, they were so excited. Like, they are coming to us just so excited for the experiences that we're going to provide for them. And it's so cool to see their own visual representation of their learning. And which kind of comes into like the pathways of when we get into these experiences.
Mhm.
We implement many different types of learning pathways throughout the knowledge building of the content. This is just one example of a big experience that these kids have been involved in, but it's a good example of a hands-on visual arts piece
Yeah.
experience that the kids are participating in. So it was really cool.
And I think too, so before we started with all the globes, we have done this now the last 3 years. And so some of those students coming in, they're like, are we going to do what we saw in your room? Because before we didn't have as many kids. So we would do it on our tile right in front of our door. So when you walked by, it was Hot Mess Express of paper mache. The custodians loved us. Sarcasm. But before we started this, our students were learning about this different continents. They're learning about oceans. They're understanding, their place in the world. So when it came down to them knowing, like Kara's saying, the purpose behind it, they're like, this is what I get to create based on what I know.
Mm-hmm.
So after they were done paper macheing, we very carefully carried them back to our classrooms. They dried overnight. Somehow some got moldy. So that was fun. We just painted over that. Just painted over it. And they painted them blue. They painted them blue, and then they cut out their continents. And part of that assessment piece is, where do those continents go on the world?
Mm-hmm.
And so they had to strategically place their continents on their globe.
Yep.
And the frustrating part this time now is that if you are not as globed as you need to be, they don't always fit where they need to go. And there was so much learning happening, because they would think, well, I can't get this to fit here, but it should go. And so there's a lot of like adjustments that you need to do with that. And the kids are okay with it. And you just have to go with the flow.
Yeah. Definitely flexibility becomes a big thing when talking about classroom learning experiences. I think just, education teachers in general, we just have to be flexible, because you never know what each morning is going to bring to you, whether,
Absolutely.
It's with, what's happening in your building, what's happening with your students, whatever it might be. But the learning experiences specifically just kind of just show you that, it's our job to provide that information and that knowledge, but to be a guide and let the kids, take control of that learning for themselves. Because if we don't give them those opportunities, none of that is going to get turned into long-term memory. Therefore, they're never going to build upon that knowledge and have it for later down the road. And statistics show that once they leave elementary school, their national scores are plateauing and dropping once they get to middle school and high school. So we have to make sure that we're giving those kids opportunities to, be flexible in their learning, fail forward in their learning. But then if we want the kids to do that, we have to do that as well.
Absolutely. And it's a huge learning curve for us as well. As veteran teachers, I still have to remind myself, take a step back. Let them push forward through this. Oh, yeah. So the globes are hanging. And the great part is they're hanging by the punch balloon string. And so the sad part is what happens is eventually that balloon pops. And if they don't have the paper mache around the top part of the string, the rubber band, then it falls from the sky. And now you walk in and you have globes that are on the ground. And, this year was just, it was a learning curve. But here's what happens. These globes, if they didn't make it to stay up in my classroom, they're now going home, right? Okay, well, parents, what are you going to do when this globe paper mache thing comes home? Well, you're going to eventually throw it away. You can't really keep that. But the conversations that can happen from school to home about this one thing. Mom, dad, brother, sister at the dinner table, guess what I did today? guess what we did in third grade today? And
Mhm.
then when parents are asking, well, what do you mean? Tell me more about that. And they can now start understanding and tying it to what they're learning in the classroom.
Mhm.
And that's such a huge piece is we want those conversations to continue at home.
Mhm. Yeah, it's one of those things, even, being parents ourselves, we want our kids just to be like, what were you doing at school today? What were some of the things that you're learning about? Mm,
PE,
I don't know.
lunch.
Fine, good. Yeah, all the key words that they try to just, end the conversation and like move on to something else. But we are trying to provide these experiences not only to build that knowledge with our students, but also to build connection between, students among each other, to build connection with the educators, and also to build connection at home as well. Because, like Meg said, these experiences allow students and family members just to open up conversation. And
Yeah.
it's really cool. In years past, I've had parents that have said they come home and talk to us about, whatever topic or unit that we're in. And, we had to sit down and do research that night
Yes.
because they had so many questions and they wanted to dig into it. And so it's just really cool because it just kind of creates another opportunity of connection from school to home.
Yeah. I love that it
Mhm.
continues to grow. And
Mhm.
we want to have those conversations with our kids because before when Kara's saying it's going into our long-term memory, those kids are going to hold on to this and just know, okay, these 7 continents is what we have. And now what's even great is we can take this experience and we can build on it.
Mhm.
Right now, we're moving into that weather and climate. What does the weather and climate look like around the world?
Mhm.
Which then leads us into natural disasters, which leads us into ecosystems. There's just so much that can happen from this one experience that is content driven. Our students are learning all of this knowledge, but it's around an experience that is purposeful.
Mhm. And just to add on to that, before this experience, there was a lot of other learning happening as well. Like Meg
Mhm.
said, we're pulling in, different articles, we're integrating those reading strategies. They had different writing prompts, so integrating the writing. We're constantly bringing in other standards that we're hitting. However, we're trying to build, a more holistic approach to their learning, rather everything being so segmented. We want their knowledge to be a little bit more holistic, and therefore these experiences are making that knowledge a little bit more concrete and hopefully turning into long-term memory.
Yeah. Because let's think about it. When we plan an experience, we're planning it when we're thinking this information might be hard to understand when it's just from a textbook.
Mhm.
This part might be hard to understand when I just hear it or read about it. And so Kara and I create the experience with that helps them understand it more, whether it's the visual arts piece and paper macheing. You don't have to go as crazy as paper macheing right off the bat. Maybe your students are just creating something or you're putting movement to it. But we want this to be an episode where you can start taking our ideas and thinking either, wow, you girls are crazy to paper mache with 75 third graders, or maybe you're like us and you're like, I'm going to jump right in and give it a go.
Mhm.
How can you bring a little bit more life into your planning and into your content to get your kids coming up to you and saying, thank you for making our lessons fun today. I
Mhm.
really understood this because, or,
Mhm.
just those days that are hard, they're a little less hard when you're having more fun with your students.
Absolutely. And we really get started, like Meg said, what needs the content, what needs to be hit on to create meaningful learning and long-term understanding. And then the next place we go is what pathway or pathways, multiple, do we want to hit with that experience? What
Yeah.
are our kids going to really, gravitate towards? Or it's pathways that we're like, they need to experience this because, they kind of tend to, just kind of like adults, they tend to kind of get stuck in a rut, and so just giving them an opportunity to explore a different learning pathway that they might not know that they're really good at or really enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you bring in movement or
Mhm.
music or, auditory? So, well, okay. So we have these crazy experiences that are actually really purposeful and are insanely fun for us and our students. But I guess we want to remind you that the learning is always taking place. We are making mistakes along the way. It's exhausting, it's exciting. It works out some days and you have perfect globes, and other days they're unglobed. And, I think that there's just so much learning that happens in that. And then you reflect as teachers, you should reflect. Was it the paper? Was it the balloons? Was it us? Was it them? And it just, I don't know. It's fun to keep it going. Because if we did the same thing all the time, how boring would it be?
Well, and I just always think, learning is messy. It's not
And loud.
It's messy. It's loud. There's never just a clear-cut line to learning. Like, you look at anyone's educational journey, there is going to be, turns taken at different places. Nothing is ever a straight line when it comes to building your knowledge and learning, no matter in what aspect of life you're talking. And so the same thing goes with just putting these experiences in the kids' hands. It's okay if it's messy. It's okay if it's loud.
You can go unscripted.
Yes.
It's okay to go unscripted.
And, if you are in that situation where you do have a pretty set curriculum, use experiences to enhance or elevate what you already do. We're not saying you have to, completely ditch everything, but we're just trying to encourage you because, there is learning in the mess, there's joy in the mess, and there's such great value and purpose in the mess as well.
Absolutely. I'm thinking about if any of you are out there that's like, okay, how did you girls do this? We are more than happy to share experiences when it comes around our third grade content. If you have a different content, we have created so many amazing resources that hit on some of those hard concepts. Just today, we did climate beads. We were talking about tempestries, where you record the temperature every month, the average temperature, and then talk about how the climate is different in Wyoming versus Las Vegas. And why would you live there, or why wouldn't you? And that great conversation about, well, I wouldn't live in Las Vegas because, 6 months out of the year, it's over 90 degrees. And our students are like, there's no way. While other students are just loving the idea of having the sun, and the heat, and thinking that they're going to be in a pool all day. So I think just some of those experiences, they can be as little or as extravagant as you want them. And they can most definitely be unscripted. You can find, beg, borrow, and steal. Find what works best for your classroom and for you.
Absolutely. So yeah, like Meg said, if you are wanting more ideas, please just reach out. We also, have tons of resources on the multiple learning pathways, resources on creating classroom learning experiences. We have a lot of resources linked on our website as well, such as a sample planner, all of that kind of stuff, because we want to give as many tools and resources to all of you as we can to encourage you in this work and encouraging you to elevate your instruction with learning experiences.
Yeah. If you head on over to IntegratedK12.com, you can see all of our blogs, which we have a lot of those resources posted along with pictures, as well as make sure that you follow us on all of our social media platforms. Kara does a great job posting all of our classroom happenings, all of the mess, the chaos, and the fun. So make sure you follow us at IntegratedK12 on those.
Absolutely.
And don't forget to leave us some comments. We would love to see what you're doing in your classrooms, the mess that you're creating, the joy that's being had. We'd love to see all those experiences.
Absolutely. Two heads is better than one. So any ideas shared, we're just trying to create a community where people can come and grab ideas, strategies, whatever it might be, to help their students in their educational journey. So make sure you drop those in the comments because we'd love to hear them as well.
Yeah. All right, educator friends, thank you so much for being with us today. We hope that you take some of this knowledge and apply it to your classrooms tomorrow.
If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with fellow educators.
Join the conversation in the comments and let us know how you're applying these strategies in your classroom.
Together, we can create meaningful learning experiences for all students.
Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.